Hello and welcome everyone. Am I audible, Archie?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm Shubh Parmar, your host for today's webinar. My team and I are here to make sure you have a seamless and engaging experience. If you have any questions or need assistance, feel free to use the chat window. We are here to help. The topic for today is generative AI for end users. This is the Advantage India Scaling and AI NSI initiative by Microsoft aimed at empowering the future with AI skills at scale. It highlights key focus areas such as data and AI, Office 365 Copilot, GitHub Copilot, prompt engineering, and security. This initiative emphasizes the role of AI in skill development and digital transformation. Anyone who is interested to join these sessions, please connect with us. And anyone who wants to organize these exclusive sessions in your organization or college, please do let us know as these sessions are absolutely free. Today's event is sponsored by Synergetics and Microsoft. Before we dive into today's session, let me take a moment to introduce Synergetics. Synergetics is a leading edge learning solutions provider in India, offering specialized training and consulting services. We empower businesses and professionals to thrive in today's fast evolving tech landscape by delivering transformative learning experiences. Our core focus is on enabling digital transformation through innovative skilling programs, advisory services, and end-to-end implementation support. From modernizing IT frameworks to mastering emerging technologies like AI, cloud computing, and DevOps, Synergetics is committed to equipping you with the tools and knowledge to succeed. These are the synergetic learning solutions, which are persona based onboarding, onboarding add on, certification add on, reskilling, emerging technology training, certification hackathon, cloud adoption, latest technology training, sales, pre sales training, practice playbook, and architecting. These are the learning solutions which are offered by Synergetics. And if you want to know more about this, please please connect with us. This is the Microsoft certification skilling journey. The journey begins with the fundamental certifications, then progresses to advanced role-based certifications, and finally to expert level certifications. We are thrilled to have Mr. Nabjyoti as a today's speaker. Nabjyoti is a certified Microsoft trainer and a consultant at Synergetics. He brings a wealth of knowledge and experience in AI and cloud technologies. The agenda for this webinar is understanding the fundamentals and evolution of generative AI, applications of generative AI, utilizing AI for generating text, images, and multimedia content, ChatGPT and Bing Chat, practical exercises on leveraging AI for drafting emails, summarizing documents, and generating creative content, ethical considerations and challenges, and at last, utilizing Copilot. You have to follow the code of conduct, which will create a respectful environment for all the participants. Please note, participants are not allowed to take screenshot of the presentation and cannot do screen recording. Your journey matters. As you explore, learn, and grow, we encourage you to share your learning experience with us. How to share? Write a post about your learning experience and tag us on LinkedIn. Record a short video sharing key takeaways from our skilling sessions. Get featured in our AI Skilling Success Showcase on LinkedIn and the best stories will be highlighted across our social media platforms and community events. Technology is advancing at an unprecedented pace, with artificial intelligence driving this transformation. To help us all stay ahead and upskill, Microsoft is launching an exciting initiative, AI Skills Fest. More than just an event, AI Skills Fest is a movement, an opportunity to learn, grow, and make history together. From April 8th to May 28th, 2025, this campaign will offer immersive learning sessions, hands-on experience, and thrilling challenges, equipping you with cutting-edge AI skills. Don't miss out on this incredible journey. Do follow us on on our social media platforms to get relevant updates on upcoming webinars, workshops, and certificate training we do. We run communities on Meetup. This is the emerging technology community. Anyone who are eager to learn about technological knowledge can join this community on Meetup. We have multiple communities in Pune, Gujarat, Nagpur, and Indore. Those who are interested to join this community, please log into Meetup app and gain your knowledge for free. Thank you for listening to me. We'll hand over the mic now to our speaker.
All right, thank you. So let me share my screen. All right, so very good afternoon to all of you. It's good evening to all of you. So as you can see, a title for this today's webinar on generative AI essential for the end user. So let me set the context what we are going to do during this short webinar. So first we will go and talk about what is basically a generative AI and how it is different from the traditional artificial intelligence. And then we quickly go into the inner working of generative AI to understand and align with the different use cases that can be implemented by using the technology from the generative AI. And that will give you insights that you can understand in what context the generative AI would be used rather than going and developing system or applications by writing code. So this session is not about kind of developing system and applications by using your programming skill. So this session is all about how quickly we can make use of pre-created system to do different tasks in a day-to-day basis. That is the context of this particular webinar. So quickly, let me introduce myself. My name is Nabajoti Barua. I'm working as an AVP Technology, and my core competency lies on cloud solution architect and AI consultant. So today's agenda for this webinar goes like this. As I said, we'll understand little bit of background of generative AI, what it does, what are the underlying concept of the generative AI, and then we'll go into the use cases because you need to understand in what context the generative AI could be used. And I will go and walk you through the few demos that you will be able to anticipate. So we are going to discuss that can be practically implement, the practically showcase those capabilities that is coming out of generative AI. And finally, we'll quickly conclude with responsible AI and ethical use, because AI is a subject that can be used in two ways. We can use it positively or we can use it negatively. So how responsible you would be while you are using the generative AI in your day-to-day task? So we need to kind of subscribe to the framework that has come from the different kind of organizations or maybe vendors, that we need to stick to those responsible AI guidelines while we are going to deal with any kind of AI activities from our applications or maybe from our AI system. So that would be the agenda. So first we'll go and talk about, let's understand the artificial intelligence ecosystem. Okay. So what do we mean by artificial intelligence in broader descriptions of or definition of an artificial intelligence? We can say that till yesterday the human was doing few tasks. Now those tasks can be done by an application, by a system. So you're offloading the human task to the application or a system. That's how the artificial intelligence has emerged. But artificial intelligence is not something today's technology that we are talking about. It was there for quite some time. So we call them as a traditional artificial intelligence through which we can do many tasks that human was doing before artificial intelligence. Like we can analyze the sentiment of a review, how the customer has written a review of a particular product. So using AI, we can analyze the sentiment. Using AI, we can detect the human face like we do typically through the Dizzy Yatra app. So when you go to an airport today, you don't have to carry your boarding pass or maybe identity. So you can just stand in front of the cameras. So camera is going to identify you who you are and where you are traveling. So that's a kind of artificial intelligence use that is happening around us. This is a traditional artificial intelligence. It was there for quite some time. Apart from that, analyzing videos, analyzing images, detecting object from the images, predicting, forecasting. So these are typical kind of tasks the artificial intelligence does. The question is that which part of the artificial intelligence is responsible for doing this kind of activities, this kind of tasks. And that's how we get into the subject called machine learning. So again, I'm saying this will not take you to the deep dive of an inner working or maybe how the artificial intelligence system was built, what kind of underlying technologies and tools. So we are not going to discuss on that, but from the terminology point of view, you must be aware of that because these are the terminology that is being extensively used in the field of artificial intelligence. So when we say machine learning is a subset of AI through which we can train a model from a given data set, meaning like a human learned from different events, like, so maybe I can read a book to learn something, I can attend a training to learn something, or I can do something on my own to learn. So human can learn from different sources by doing different activities. The same way a machine also can learn from the data information. The tools, algorithms, architecture that is involved in that process of learning from the data is basically called as a machine learning. So machine learning is not just a one definition of a one thing. There would be multiple things together. The machine learning is going to deliver of learning from the data. So once we learn from a data using machine learning tools, so eventually we get a machine learning models. And these models are called the brain of the artificial intelligence, who can predict, who can analyze, who can identify, who can detect, who can forecast. So this all kind of things can be done by the models that is being trained by using machine learning tools and technologies. So sometimes the machine learning may not be capable of doing complex or may not be capable of learning from the complex data. And that's how you will get into another subject in the field of artificial intelligence called deep learning. So the deep learning is enhanced on top of the machine learning to learn from the complex data, learn from the huge corpus of data by using artificial neural network. Like human learn by using neuron from their brain, from our brain, to similarly the same kind of the architecture is being applied through the deep learning to learn from the huge corpus of data, from the complex data. So there are different algorithms and program is being used to do these activities, learning from the data. So essentially these are called training a model. So eventually we are going to get a models and that model can be consumed from our application, and that's how the applications become artificial intelligence based applications. So who can deliver the task that was typically done by the human in the past. Like I have given an example, right? So you are eliminating human for doing those tasks, delegating that task to the artificial intelligence by training the models using machine learning or deep learning tools. That is what collectively we need to understand. Now, what we are going to discuss today, mainly our focus would be generative AI, the new era of artificial intelligence. So generative AI also going to come up with a list of models like we did with the machine learning model and deep learning model. But this model is capable of doing more than what we have done with machine learning and deep learning model. In fact, the generative AI model also a type of deep learning model, but the capability of the model is really, really huge and robust. And this model is not going to go do all kind of activity that I was talking about, saying identifications and analyzing or maybe forecasting or predicting. Beyond that, also this model is capable of generating new content, original content. So if you want to kind of write an email, so you can just tell the AI to write an email for you. If you want to write a blog on a particular subject, you can just tell the generative AI model to do that, to write that. If you want to generate an image with your own anticipations or with your own imagination, so you can tell the generative AI to draw that image. If you want to create a videos from your imaginations, you have to write the narratives of the videos or maybe the description of the video, what video that you are looking for. The generative AI would be able to create the video for you. And that could be used in different, different contexts. Maybe doing marketing for your product, the creating complete marketing campaigns, all can be done with the help of generative AI models. So the net artificial intelligence as a ecosystem, what we need to know, we have the traditional AI. It is for quite some time, but today we talked about the new artificial intelligence, what is called generative AI. And that generative AI can do everything that is being done in the traditional AI plus creating new content. As I said, the content could be a text, content could be a videos, content could be an image, or content could be music, and so on and so forth. So we'll talk about those use cases, in what context the generative AI could be used for an end user without developing your system by using generative AI models, or without building your own models, training your own model. You are going to have pre-trained models, and you can simply consume the models from some kind of interface and start interacting with this model to do your task, to do your job in a day-to-day basis. But let us quickly walk you through the inner working of those models from the traditional AI, what we discuss. So if you can see in this deck, so these are the different models that we are talking about, who can perform the different tasks, right from sentiment analysis to the classifications. You can classify between the two different flowers, right? So you can detect an object, right? So you can create some kind of summary of a particular videos. You can get the key phrases from a given text. You can classify different type of text. So this is what you can do by going through this all the model. But only one thing that in traditional AI is that every single task we have to train a single models. So I have got all the different model which is isolated to do a particular task. So every task there would be a one model. This task there would be another model. This task there would be another model. Now that has got changed today in generative AI model. So what has changed? I don't have to train multiple model to do different things. I can do all of this, what we can do before, what we can uh, do from the previous model, plus what we do, we generate the new content today using the generative AI models. So this model is more powerful than the traditional model that we talked about, because this is more robust, and these models are called as foundation model based on the transformer architecture. And this model is being trained from heterogeneous data source. Your text, image, speech, structured data, 3D signals, all data goes into the training. The algorithms that we talked about, who will train the data in order to create a model. And this model can perform all the tasks, what you saw on the right hand side. Unlike creating one model for one task, so you have very powerful model today under the generative AI who can do not only just one task, that can do multiple tasks. The adaptability of the model will be going through the list of tasks. So that's how this model are very, very powerful, what we are discussing at this moment. Okay, so this was a quick the difference that you need to understand how the AI worked before, now how AI is working now. So that is something you should be kind of you should be aware of this particular what you call as the difference between the two type of artificial intelligence. But in context of generative AI, you might or you will come across another concept called large language model. So essentially what is called large language model, the large language model is basically used to deal with text-based or maybe speech-based artificial intelligence. So it's basically understand the human languages. Human language meaning like how we talk to our friend, how we talk to our colleagues, how we ask questions. So similarly, we can also talk to the large language models with the language of our own native language. I can ask questions in English or I can ask questions in my regional language also, because the AI model is capable of understanding the different languages. So from the language point of view, the language that we are going to type or we are going to use to communicate or interact with this model is the seamless, like anybody can make use of this model to do their task or perform their task. So NLP is not today's concept. The NLP was there for quite some time because these are NLP based model, but it is being trained using transformer architecture to make it more robust. Like, you can do multiple tasks from a single model. But the definition of NLP is like natural language processing, through which the computer can understand, interpret, and generate human language. It combines linguistics and machine learning to process text and speech, enabling application like chatbot, okay, and translation, sentiment analysis, and the speech recognition. So these kind of activities is done typically from the large language model. So we are going to go and identify those models and we are going to try and use this model to generate the text or translate a text, okay, or doing a typical conversations like question answer, that how we can ask AI, how the AI can respond to the questions. So we will go and practically take a look. Okay, so this is the quick introduction to the artificial intelligence ecosystem, what I'm saying at this moment, what I'm explaining. So we started with the traditional artificial intelligence backed by the traditional model, then getting into the modern artificial intelligence that is called generative AI, that is also backed by the models, because model is all about who can do all kind of activities that we are talking about. It's like a brain behind the artificial intelligence, but that model can be trained by machine learning tool or a deep learning tools. So deep learning is more robust than the machine learning. So because they can be used or they can be trained on the more complex data in compared to the machine learning. And then getting into the large language model, this is also a type of the foundation models or a generative AI model, but this is primarily designed to work with the language interpretations, the language conversations with the artificial intelligence system. So this model is capable of bringing human more closer to the AI system, because it would be a natural language, like we are going to talk, we are going to kind of, interact with the languages. I mean, interact with, by using the language, interact with the models. So hope you have understood the context that I have set for you for the artificial intelligence. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop the questions into the team chat. Okay. So always you can ask questions. As I said, you can also unmute if you want to ask any questions in between when this particular session is progress. It is a complete demo brace to give you some kind of insight and walkthrough. Then you will get a fair idea about the generative AI And that generative AI can be used as an end user, as I said before, also without getting into a deep dive or without getting into kind of programmings or developing something on your own. That's the that's the point that I'm trying to kind of make here. So if you have any questions so far, what we have been discussing from the ecosystem of artificial intelligence, let me know. Now, moving from here, we must understand how it's work, like what kind of interactions that we can do with these kind of models, because eventually we have been only discussing about the models. We must understand where do I go and find those models? How do I use this model? Yes, we are going to find them. We are going to use those models for different tasks that we have explained in the past. But a few examples to just to make you understand how this model can do things for you. So let's look at few models and their respective tasks that we can do with those models. Now, one of the most popular model today people talks about called GPT-4. Okay, that is the name of the models. It's a deep learning models. It's a generative AI models that is being trained by OpenAI. And this GPT-4, and there are multiple models under this category itself. The GPT-4 is not the only model. So the GPT is a family, or in that family of models, so you can see multiple models also. Now, when I'm using a GPT model behind my application, I can generate content. As I said, the content could be different type, but here we are talking about the text. But in order to generate the content, I have to write a prompt. The prompt means the input text that would be given to the model. And subsequently, model will take that input text, the prompt, and generate the response. And while they will be generating the response, it would be unique response every time. It would be an original response every time. So you will not find them anywhere if you look for the generated content by the GPT-4. Now there are many models to do this. So we can go on and on. We can name those models, but that's not the point. So you will be experiencing those models coming from a different vendors. So here I'm talking about the model from the OpenAI, which is called as a pioneer in the field of generative AI. So we can write a prompt, and from the prompt we get the response. As you can see, this is your prompt here and you get the response right there. So you're writing what exactly that you are looking for with a very with the crystal clarities, like what your model to generate for you. And this is precisely the model has done for you. So it is an end user, you don't have to understand anything how the generative model is going to do this for. Am I going to develop something to do get this? No, you don't have to do. As an end user, you simply write a prompt, align in your task what you want, so you are going to get it out of the box. You haven't trained those model, you don't know anything about the model, you only just subscribe the models and make use of these models in a day-to-day basis and start doing conversation with the models by using natural languages. So it's a very powerful model. It's a pre-trained model. GPT stand for generative pre-trained transformer. Okay, so that is what GPT is all about. So going into some other model like DALI, that is also from the OpenAI. OpenAI is a vendors who work extensively in the field of generative AI. So they also train a model called DAL-E through which we can generate the image by writing a prompt. So we put a text as an input and we get image as an output. So DAL-E understand different type of data model. That's why it's called as a multimodal model also. Okay, so because we are putting input as a text and output as an image. So this model understand both the data format, text as well as images. That's why this kind of model also being called as a multimodal model. So it's a very powerful. This is also based on the transformer architecture. We don't go and get details of the what is transformer is all about, which is behind these models, like, so that is something we always go back and understand only the terminology at this moment. So I may be using different terminology during this session, and now you just need to recall those terminology that typically which is part of this generative AI, the models, the name of the model that we talked about. We talk about machine learning and deep learnings, kind of task that I was talking about. So as of now, if you're not coming from a data science or a machine learning background, so you will be just getting to know all this from the outside, not going inside, not try and understand the inner working of those technologies. As long as your job is done, you are okay with that. So another interesting task that we can perform, whether I call as an end user or a developers. So if you are a developers, you can ask generative AI model to write code for you, whether it is a Python code or a .NET code or a Java code. So there is a product which is backed by the generative AI model called GitHub Copilot. So using the GitHub Copilot, you can, this is Copilot means what we typically talked about. The it is a kind of assistant that you will always have. You are a developer, but you get an assistant in the dev environment. Suppose you are using a Visual Studio Code as an IDE to develop an application. In that case, so Copilot become an assistant. So rather than typing code on your own, you can take help from the Copilot to write code for you. Because this Copilot was trained on the code from the GitHub. So in the GitHub, we have millions of codes, billions lines of codes available there in the GitHub. So the model which is trained on those code, and subsequently we can go and ask the model to create code for us or write code for us. This is the prompt that we can give to the models behind the GitHub Copilot. These are assistants. There are multiple copilots that you would be coming across, like Office 365, M365 Copilot. This is basically, you get Copilot for Word, Excel, PowerPoints. So you always get assistant while you are working with that particular application. So applications is going to assist you based on your need. So you always driven by the prompt that you write. Accordingly, you get the content right in front of you, whether it is text or a code or an image, the core concept remains same. So you have to give an input to get the output. But what kind of output? That it is defined in the prompt, and that would be defined by a particular model that you are going to select. Sometimes the one model is capable of doing all of them. That's what we are talking about. That model can create text, generate text, or generate image, generate code, and so on and so forth. So like your yes, I mean, like the last thing that I just wanted to talk about, not only just creating the image, text, and the code, but we can also create videos. There is a model called Sora from the OpenAI again. So this model is capable of creating videos by writing a prompt. So you just need to define, you need to describe what kind of videos that you want to generate, right? So this is a kind of videos that you can see. It's a short clip of videos, but yes, it is a video that is generated by the Sora model. This is also a generative AI models. Underlying technology may be same, but it is being understood the way how to create a videos, unlike how to create text or how to create image or how to create code. Because this particular model is being extensively trained to do this job. But eventually it is generating content. And that is the core competency of generative AI model. That is what we have been discussing, which is different from the traditional AI so far. Now, the question is that if I want to do this kind of things, where shall I go? Whom to connect? From where do I go and get those models? I'm just giving an example, but yes, there are hundreds of models available around us. But we need to figure out where do I get those models that I can bring into my applications or my interface to make use of those models. And that's how I can talk about the top 10 generative AI vendors from where we can make use of those models. I have been talking about OpenAI, right? So those GPTs and DAL-Es and Soras, the model that I have mentioned in my previous discussions, this is coming from the OpenAI, the vendor OpenAI. But apart from the OpenAI, you can see there are other emerging the vendors like XAI, like DeepSeek. These are the emerging vendors. They have really make uh, the robust AI systems, robust models today, which is actually competing the rest of the models that is being trained by the other vendors at this moment. But this session would be around the Microsoft. So we are going to get onto the Microsoft Cloud Platform and figure out the list of models available for us, and we'll use one of them to do this. That would be Microsoft model catalog that we are going to browse. Yes, of course, we are going to get GPT from the Microsoft also. We are going to get DAL-E from the Microsoft also, because Microsoft has invested on the OpenAI. So whatever the model is being trained at the OpenAI, that can be consumed through the Microsoft Cloud Platform. So for this session, I will use Microsoft Cloud Platform to give you the demos by accessing the models, which is made available by Microsoft. That quickly I can get onto the Microsoft Cloud platforms, access the models and start a writing prompt and get response. Whether it is text or an image or code or any other task that you want to do for the end user point of views. Right? So this is what you can go through. Just a minute. Okay, so few use cases that we can talk about. AI daily task for the end user. We have been talking about like text generations and the writing assistant. So you take those models You basically use those models as an assistant every time you generate the text, every time you want to write a text. It could be, as I said, writing a blogs or writing an essay, an application, writing some kind of articles. You can always take help from the generative AI models, as you can see right there. Summarization also can be part of the generative AI tasks. The quickly summarize the lengthy documents or articles into a concise points. Emails and communications optimization. So you can develop some kind of conversational AI that you can ask questions and you get a response. So while you are getting a response, you can set the tone also, like what type of response, the professional response that you need, or maybe a funny response that you need. So this is all possible, when we are going to make use of those models, as long as you want to create content and make use those model as an assistant to you every now and then. So by using the AI as an assistant, so you can enhance your productivities. You are supposed to write an article, it may take 2 days, but it can be done in 30 seconds or a 1 minute with the help of artificial intelligence. But while you are going to get those content, you have to be ensure, or you have to be very, very focused on the part of the input text. That is prompt, that what we are talking about. So prompt is extremely critical because based on the prompt that you would be writing, you are going to get the response. And in fact, we talk about the ethical use of AI, that ethics and the privacy of this AI also would be considered. So if you're going to ask an unwanted questions from the different category like violence, hate, sexual, or maybe, you know, under those category, the AI will protect you by eliminating those questions. Okay, removing these questions from the conversations automatically. So we need to understand how to set this up while we'll be building that kind of conversational AI system for us. So this is also we need to know, because today you don't have to build anything. It is out of the box. It is there already. You just need to go and kind of start doing conversations. If the conversations going in some negative directions, automatically your AI will stop responding, automatically eliminating that conversations without generating anything. So that is being taken care of by using ethical use of generative AI model. So today we get out of the box. We don't have to build anything explicitly to do this, which is part of the generative AI model while we consume through our application. So creative application, art and image, we talked about video and animation generations and music and audio productions. These are the different tasks apart from the text for the end user you can do by using those models that we have discussed some time back. And then eventually the improving productivity, that is the core point. Like, improving the productivity is the ultimate one. That is what probably uh, we are interested to make use of this generative AI model. And you should be able to anticipate that from the conversation that we are having today. So it is all about providing an assistant. Remember that you are not being replaced by an AI as of today. You always need to prove the content that is being generated by AI. So it is not 100% accurate every time. Yes, They will try to make it 100%, but you cannot bank on the content which is generated by AI. So you need to keep the human in the loop to validate everything that is generated by AI is correct before it goes for the publications, before it goes to the production, before it goes to the customers or maybe your end consumer. In fact, today the AI is being used for automating the routine task. We can create some kind of pipeline through an AI, generative AI, in order to optimize the workflows. Like, so I don't have to do things manually today. I can write in applications. I can press a buttons from the applications, and applications will run that workflow automatically. In case the workflow needs something, they will get it done by themselves, because these are controlled by the artificial intelligence, eliminating human loop into that workflow. So this is an advanced implementation. We have to build that system. We need to know how we create and workflows with the help of those models. What we need to do from our ends with parameters and other things, plugins that we need to bring into that particular models to do things according to our way. Collaboration and communications, real-time language translations, like, yes, I mean, when I'm speaking to a particular AI system, I may be speaking in my own language. So the AI system will be able to understand what I'm speaking, what command that I am asking to execute. So as I said, AI understand multiple languages. We don't need to worry that we have to only communicate with the AI model with English. So we can communicate with multiple languages. We can go and figure it out, the models that support the list of languages. But it would be typical, all the popular models support more than 100 languages at this moment, who can interpret, who can understand, who can generate response on those languages. Virtual assistant and chatbot is the ultimate one. The people talk about chatbot not today. It is being done from the beginning when the AI was coming for the first time. But the today's chatbot become more robust by infusing generative AI model, right? So you can get response, unique response every time you ask for something, because every time you are going to get the original response or unique response, uh, because the idea of generative AI model is to create new content every time. Okay, so you belongs to the banking domain, so how AI can help here? Okay, so in banking domains, you will be able to use AI for creating the chatbot or maybe fraud detections. So suppose money laundering, okay, customer behaviors. AI can be used to issue the loan to the customers by evaluating their applications. So we don't need any humans. So all can be delegated to the artificial intelligence. So banking is the one sector, but you have to create that system. You have to develop the system. The pre-created model is not going to go. It's for just an end user. But when you talk about domain specific AI system that you want to build, then you have to build with the specific models to do that particular task. Of course, you won't be able to train a complete new models, but you can fine tune those models in context of banking data. So you can feed the data to the models. The model can learn to understand how the model can do the fraud detections, how the model can analyze to kind of give a suggestions or give some kind of assistance to the customers, what type of, how much loan they will avail, or maybe what type of banking product they should buy, they should enroll for. So all kind of things that you can do by with the help of AI. So essentially, whether it is bank or whether it is manufacturing, whether it is retail or whether it is educations, so your model that you are going to use need to be trained with your own domain specific data. So what currently we are talking about, those generative AI model like GPT-4, the GPT-4 will not understand the core banking, like what is happening in HDFC or what is happening in Axis Bank with their own policies, with their own system, right? So we have to train that existing model with your own data, with own situations, with own input, own parameters and hyperparameters. Then you can use these models to do all kind of tasks that I was talking about. So hope you got it. You mean, yes, you have to customize the existing models by giving. Customizing means you have to give a relevant data from Axis Bank, or you have to give a relevant data for a high, SDFC or maybe some other SBI bank. If you are really want to build a system for a bank, so your model need to know the system, because model is not going to know everything, right? Because it's like a human. So human also do not know everything. So human need to be trained. Human has to read or human has to learn. So machine also need to learn. So you have to build a model by providing data from those domain specific. Okay, from those domain, then it is possible. Everything is possible. Like suppose I will ask the model to generate a loan application form. Yes, of course, the model would be able to generate the loan application form, because the model is trained on the different application forms in the past. Now you are going and asking the model to create a new form. Of course, the model can generate the new form for the customers, dynamic form for the customers to take the inputs and submit to a database and process by the AI itself. So that is called the automations, like, so you can write from accepting the detail to approving the loan can be automated by building the system within the bank without human. We don't need to deploy human to validate the applications. We don't need anyone in that process of, uh, you know, giving loan to your customers. Or maybe internal system that I was talking about, fraud detections and detecting the fraud within your the banking system. Okay, so hope you got it. So as I said, this would be applicable to all domain, not only from the bank. So we'll go and get a quick demos, like, so then you will get a fair idea what I'm talking about. Where do I find those model? What model that I'm talking about? So at least you should be able to kind of figure out the models repeatedly I'm talking about and the task that I have explained so far. Okay, so I will quickly go to a demo using the Microsoft AI services that I will use Microsoft Azure Cloud Platform. So let me go to that terminal. Okay, so first what we need to do to get access to this model. So let us go to my portal. And I will go and find a service who can give me the model. So I'll go there. There is a service called OpenAI service from the Microsoft resource list. I'll create one group here. If you have already worked with Microsoft Azure in the past, so you'll get to know what is the meaning of resource group. But the resource group is just a logical container. So I'm just deploying one of the OpenAI service in the East US 2 region because I am on the cloud. I can say demo OAI SRV, and then I go with rest all would be fine. And these are a paid service, and how you are going to pay by consuming the service, it is there. So maybe this model basically process the number of words coming from input and number of word that is coming as a response. And these words is being called as a token in context of generative AI model. So how many token got processed by the model? Accordingly, you have to pay the price. Like for example, $10 for 10 million tokens, something like that. So this is a kind of unit of measurement while you are giving uh, while you are pricing those model, how the vendor is going to charge whenever I consume these models in order to generate the new content. So that is being calculated in a form of token. Okay, so I have got my OpenAI service. I can go there. This is my OpenAI service. And then I'll go to a ready-made kind of chatbot, ready-made kind of playground where I can test my model by interacting with the model that I'm going to deploy. Okay, the model that I'm going to deploy and start interacting with that particular model. But at this moment in that playground from where I supposed to interact with the models, there is no models available. So I have to go and deploy a model. So where do I find the model? I'll find a model in the catalog. In the left hand side, you can see this is called model catalog. Okay. So in that model catalog, you can go and select the type of model. As of now, there are 27 models available that can be deployed under this service. The service on the top right corner, you can see is TOS2. The pricing tier is S0 and the name of the service that I have given. So this service is capable of accessing those models, but I have to deploy this model. Okay, now before I deploying a model from 27 model, I can go and select a particular category, means filter on a particular category saying that I want to create some kind of chatbot. So what model would be best for working with chatbot? Means the conversations using LLM, the what we discuss out there. It says these are the models that you can deploy. So every model could be used for chat completion. So this is basically, the conversation. Chat completions means you are writing something and the model is going to complete by giving a response. That's how it's called as a conversational AI models or maybe a chat completion model. So I can go and select one of the model because these models are old models. So I can go and make use of the latest model, but I will be using kind of the models which is not old, which is not new. That is the GPT-4. So I'll go with the GPT-4. If this model is available in EastUS2, I should be able to deploy that model. Okay, so I can deploy the GPT-4 model. So by just clicking on the now I talked about while I'm going to interact with this model, so I cannot ask questions, which is unwanted. Okay, so how this model is going to protect the conversation, that the conversation should not be under the category of violence or sexual conversation, or maybe a hate conversations and so on and so forth. So you can see there is a one service called content safety. Okay, that is the service that we can see a content safety. And this service can ensure that all the content getting generated will be under the boundary of responsible AI. Okay, so if they found that content is coming under a particular category, so that is not going to be generated. In fact, your prompt is going to be eliminated. So this is an out of the box service associated with the model. The moment I deploy the model, along with the model, that service also being deployed for a safe communications with the model. We can customize that also. If you want to use this content safety specifically in banking or maybe in retail or maybe in, so we can also do that. But you must understand the framework that I'm talking about here. So framework is inbuilt here. So you just need to get the framework and you can sit on top of that and you can do always the customization. So with that, I can go and deploy this. There are a couple of more like 8K, 8,000 token per minute can be consumed while I'm talking to the GPT-4 models, right? So we are deploying to this EastUS2 under this service that we have deployed some time back. So we can customize also, like there is a customize button also, but we did not do any customization. So whatever it is being, I can also go and add more models, not only one models. I can go back to that. This time I can select something to do with images. So suppose there is something called text to image. Okay, so I get to see DAL E3 or DAL E2. So I can go and deploy one of them. So I can deploy to the same location, right? So that is your, but this time this will go and deployed in some other, because that is not available here, but that would be fine. So we can create another service and we should be able to deploy that DAL E under that service. Because the DAL E3 model is not available in EastUS2, it will go into a Sweden Central where this model is going to be deployed with a different service. Automatically will go and create under that particular region. Okay, so what we did at this moment, so we two things. So one, we deployed a conversational AI models, and another we deployed the image generation models. That is DAL-E. It is one of the most popular model in context of generating images. As of now, we don't have the model here in the list to generate the videos, but we have the model to generate audios and other things, the code and all. But I'm just going primarily with these two. One is your text generated and another is the DAL-E, that is for your the image one. So if I go back to my uh, the model now to see what model I have deployed, the first model I can go to the deployment here. This is the model that I have deployed. I can always go back and edit this, anything that I want to change. I can always do that. Suppose I want to change the content filters. Now, what the content filter that I was talking about? Assign a content filter to this deployment to filter the content to request sent to the deployment, like violence, hate, sexual, and self-harm. So you won't be able to communicate. We won't be able to do the conversations under these categories. And apart from that, you have a jailbreaks and protected material text and protected material code. This is also additionally you can configure on top of the content safety, the content filter, what we are discussing at this moment. And it's very robust. In fact, it is very practical. It is very needful in the field of generative AI, because I said that today's the threats of generative AI working with like deep fakes who can impersonate a particular individual, so they can the generative AI can generate a video of a person's, but that person is not really in that videos, but it look like that person is in videos, and that can go wrong really. So that has happened in the past, and so how to build a system to eliminate that kind of threats that is coming in the field of artificial intelligence, primarily the generative AI, what we are discussing. And this is one of them. So mainly we are talking about the content safety, the content filter. This is one of them what we are looking at this moment. So we can change it, we can create our own, we can bring it here, and so on and so forth. So let's go and see this. I go and save that one. Okay, that's fine. So here is a deployment. So we got this one. Now I can go to the playground that I was going through. So I can go to the playground. I can click on this is the playground. So now I can see the model that I have deployed. It's available. Previously it was not activated my this text. Now the model I have deployed, my playground got activated, and through which I can talk to the model. I can start asking questions, or I start writing prompt to do kind of activity that I was talking about. But there is an important box here. This is called system message that we can write to set the context. So I can say I'm telling the LLM, you are an AI assistant. You assist people by generating content. Okay, so that is the kind of context that, but I can say you are a Python developer. You assist developer by generating code. Then it will go and only generate the code. It will not do anything else. So I can set the context by writing a message. I can set a tone also. You are a professional AI assistant. Your response should be professional. Okay, so that kind of, and you can see there are some template also. These are the template we can bring in here. Suppose for end user point of view, so there is a marketing writing assistant. This is something that you can get. We'll try that later on. But now I'm going with this for interacting with this by just writing a very simple context message, system message before I do the conversation. So anything that I'm going to write here, that has to be saved by clicking on apply change. Now here I go and say hello, because that is the greeting that I'm doing with this model. GPT-4 has replied, hello, how can I assist you today? That's a kind of, so I can go and use like, so as I say, this particular model is capable of creating high quality text quickly and accurately. Scenario like drafting a professional email to a request for a meeting. So I can write a kind of prompts like this from that scenarios. Compose a polite and concise email requesting a meeting with my superior to discuss my recent performance review. So that is the kind of prompt that I'm giving to this model called GPT-4. So the moment I just go and say yes, so it will write that the email, right? So you can see this, how quickly the email is written for you. Just a minute. Okay, so as you can see, this is what we are trying to generate from the models right up there in the left corner, but we are saying compose a polite and concise email. So this is based on the prompt like you are writing to get that respective one. Or you can write an engaging social media post also, like for example, I'll write another. In fact, if I go and say write in Hindi or something like that, you can use the language also. Yeah, so yes, so you can train the model. So what is your name? Okay. So from here also you can go to the tools that you have here. You can see there is something called fine tuning. Harvinder. Okay, so Harvinder, so you can go to this left hand side. There is a tool called fine tuning. So if you want to do a fine tuning, so which model that you want to fine tune? Suppose GPT-4 that currently I am using, right? So this is the GPT-4 model that you can pick up, right? So we can do the fine tuning task. But GPT-4 is not available in my one. So let me try this. Yes, I got GPT-4o model can be fine tuned under my service. So this is the data that you have to bring in, training data. Suppose what type of models that you are going to it, direct preference optimizations or supervised learning. So you can just go and say my models, my bank models, or suppose is DFC model, right? So I can go next. Now you have to get your training data. From the blob storage, you can upload file directly into this, but that file need to be in a particular format. So you just need to know how to do it. But since you have asked, so we cannot do that because we need that data. But through the fine tuning, you can retrain the models, the GPT-4, GPT-4o. This model can be fine tuned with your SDFC or Axis Bank data. And then you create a new model and deploy that models, and then talk to the models and ask your own questions related to your own domain, related to your own system. I hope you got that, right? Arvinder? Yes. Okay, so yeah, so now coming back here, so I was just talking about from the end user point of view. So this is what we got. Yes, now I can go and write another prompt saying that generate an engaging Instagram caption for promoting my new bakery product or whatever it may be. So you can also go and do that. So you see this, how this is going to generate that one, right? So it's a very powerful models that you are looking at this moment. It is all the possibilities for the end user, whether you are a content writer, whether you are a marketing campaigner or something like that. In fact, not only that, suppose uh, you have a kind of a report that is being maintained in an Excel file, suppose. Now, what you want to do to provide a brief summary of attached quarterly financial report, highlighting the key revenue figure and the challenges. So previously you deploy human to analyze the sales report. Now you don't have to ask anybody. You can ask AI. AI will create a complete graph. AI will create complete analysis for you. What went wrong? What you should do? All kind of analysis can be done based on the prompt that you are asking. I don't have any at this moment, but if I have, I can click on the link to upload that particular report and give it to the AI. The AI will read the report and look into the prompt and give you the response. So this is very, very robust. It's a summarizing a lengthy business report into the point that you would be looking for. Right? So you can mention the point that you want to incorporate therein. You can also kind of suppose you do not have time to go through the conversation that has happened between a two person. So you can always go and write something like this. This is another prompt that I'm talking about. Or summarizing. Summarize the news article about the recent development in renewable energy within 3 bulleted points. Okay, suppose I did not give any news article, but still I am going to do this. So this is two things. One, it is basically going and so please provide the news article you would like me to summarize. Look at that. It's like a human because you are trying to ask something, but you did not give me a data. So give me a data, I can do it. So it's a very natural language conversation that you are doing with this LLM that you see. You can also speak by just enabling the mic. Okay, so mic is going to be enabled. So we need another service to be incorporated here who can take the speech and convert to a text and then process and get me the response. All right. Now, from the text, we can go on and on. We can, in fact, I can say, okay, I will say you are a Python developer. Sorry. You generate only. So you're a Python developer, you generate Python code only. So I can just apply this. We are going to have a new conversation because new setting has happened. So here we can say hello. Right? So you look at the greeting message is aligned with what you did. So how can I assist you with the Python today? So write a function. Add two numbers. Something like this. So you are going to get that functions right away. So this is also content generations that we are talking about here. So whether it is code, whether it is any kind of content that you would like to generate, whether you want to summarize, whether you want to control the outcome into a particular format like bulleted list or maybe what you call it, it could be a bulleted list or it could be tabular format, it could be a JSON format. So suppose you see write Python code. I don't have to say explicitly Python code. So I can say write code to display 10 movies. Automatically, you will get a custom data. Movie name has come already automatically. Okay, so you can see this. So it means it is not only what you are asking. So what are the dependency? What are the other relevant informations that is required to generate the content for you? It will bring you into the context. This is very powerful. In fact, you can generate the data also that you want to use in some applications or some other, right? So that is something that we can. Now, like the text. So we have. Okay. So we can go on and on different type of the use cases that we talked about. In fact, if I have to kind of generate the travel plan also we can do with the help of these models, right? So all is possible as far as the content generation is concerned. Now we'll go to the next model that where we talked about generating image from a given text. So how do what I'm going to write in that context? For example, I'll go to the playground here also, open in the playground. This time I'm using dull E to generate the image. So here I have, so this is my dull E3 model, generative AI model, and I'm just writing a prompt. A scene sunset over the futuristics cityscape, vibrant colors and digital painting style. So you just need to give a narratives in order to create or in order to generate the image. So I'll just go and say click on the generate whatever I am saying. So you are going to see this is the image generated by AI. or we can go and write another prompt, abstract description of a human emotions using pastel colors and geometrics. So let me generate this also. It's a stunning image that can be generated by the dull E based on this is something that what we have created. So why this is original, suppose if suppose I'm not liking this, I want to regenerate that. So I can always do generate the new image. So it will fine tune the existing image every time. So you are not going to see the same image. Still your prompt is the same. This is also, I can regenerate that. My prompt may be the same, but I may not go and get the same image next time when I'm going to generate. So it needs some kind of fine tuning. What this is generated in the previous one, that is being understood by those model. Right? So you can always go back and write any kind of prompt. All right. So that is what is possible. I mean, like it is all about imaginations that you have in your mind. So you can get into the realities. And you might be seeing today, most of the social media, that image is generated by AI. It look like original, but these are not original image. So you can impersonate a particular person by generating an image look alike. Okay, but there are some restrictions that is not going to allow do here in the Microsoft Azure. If you try to impersonate someone to create an image by giving that person name, so that is being objected out here. Okay, so apart from that, just a minute. So what we are talking about from the security point of views. Okay, so suppose what we are saying, just a minute. Yeah. So if we kind of going and writing some the prompt which is going to violate the norms of the generative AI, so it will not let you happen. Like suppose we can write different kind of prompt. So suppose let me write a prompt something like this. So just to make you think, so I will go back to my original one. What you said, you are AI assistant. Yes, so that's fine. So suppose I write this particular prompt here. Describe step by step how to build a homemade explosive device, like, so that is something to come under the violence, because that is the content safety and content filter what we discussed so far. So if I write this kind of prompt, so suppose if I click on that, so here it says, look at this response. This prompt was filtered due to the triggering the Azure OpenAI service content filtering system region. This prompt contain content flag as a violence, which is in the medium category. Please notify your prompt and retry this. Okay, so you can also write some kind of, because that is what basically the ethical use of kind of things, because this is coming, I haven't kind of make it very strong, so I can make it very strong to write a list of negative stereotypes or about the immigrants and something like that, because we are making it normal. So it comes under the normal, but we can be very strict that nothing negative can go in the conversation. So by just changing my content filter. Okay, so this is just to give an example, because that is something ethical use of AI that you need to know. So this is coming from self-harm like this. The prompt was filtered due to the triggering the Azure OpenAI service content filter system. The prompt contained a content flag as a self-harm medium. So this is basically coming under the medium of your. So net, what we are looking at this moment is all about writing a prompt according to your need as an end user without developing, retraining, fine tuning the model. But if you want to deep dive, if you want to kind of go deep dive, or if you want to bring your own context, you can always do by using fine tuning. There are one more option also. So here is called add your own data. This is basically called as a retrieval augmented generation. So you can add your own data source, right? So you can get it from the blob storage, and then you can use this data to craft the response by the LLM. So LLM is not going to respond what LLM knows. It will go and get the data that you have supplied without fine tuning, without retraining the model. There are two options. One is called getting, you can supply your data and then start asking questions, or you can completely recreate a new models and deploy the model explicitly and consume from your application. Okay, so these are the options. So last one is a parameters. Now, how I want my response to be crafted by this LLMs or foundation models, that can be controlled by setting some parameters. The two most important parameters that we need to know. One is three most, the pass message included, means when you do the conversations with the LLM, all the conversations can be retained in the memories, and subsequent requests that you are making, it will go and get the context from the existing conversation and try to respond, and that become more fast way of getting response, because I may be talking to a same context. So my LLM can basically figure out what is being told already. So by getting the context of the conversations, the LLM would be able to or capable of creating more specific response to the end user. That is called past message included. How many messages that you want to include from the past while you are going and generating the new content. Here is it. Select the number of the past messages to include in each new API request. This help you to give a model context for a new user queries. Setting this number 10 will include 5 user queries and 5 system responses. So maximum response also, I told you that, how you are going to pay for this model that you are using. You said pay by the number of token that you are going to use. So how many tokens? I calculated something like 1 million token. You have to pay suppose $10 for this GPT-4 model, GPT-4o models, right? So suppose every conversation that I want to control the number of, because if you go and ask any questions, the LLM will generate the response according to their, uh, you know, comfort. But if I want to say, no, I don't want too many texts in my response. I want to control the number of token while it is getting generated. So I can just go and say a max response here. So in a particular conversation, I would be using only maximum. I mean, I can go up to maximum 800 token, including your input and output in one conversation. The third one is a temperature. Temperature and top P would be the same, but temperature is a very interesting one. So value of the temperature can be set in between 0 and 1. Now it is 0.7. It means it is towards 1. So it says if you value set towards 1, you will get more random answer. You will get more dynamic or more innovative answer. If you put the value towards 0, you will get more concrete and more specific answer from the LLM, because LLM has tend to kind of generate more uh, dynamic or more innovative kind of answer every time you ask a questions. So how you want, you can just be flexible by just moving around these values that we talked about. So these are the few things that you need to know. But yes, there are multiple tools and technologies and models available. So if I go to the Cloud Foundries, I will show you the list of models that is available across the globe. So you say 1,874 models. This is coming from the different vendors. So who all are the vendors giving the collections coming from all the vendors? Unlike what we did, it is only the Microsoft. Now here it is seeing. See, these are the vendors. They have actually gone and give models to the Microsoft, and Microsoft marketplace can use this model. Like suppose I want to go with the DeepSeek. So this is the two models that we have from the DeepSeek. So I can go with some maybe Meta. This is formerly known as a Facebook. So you can see the Llama, one of the model which is very famous to do kind of things, chat completion, text generation. So you can see all kind of embeddings. So you see those models. You can filter by, or you can filter by industry also. Suppose you talk about the financial service, manufacturing. So if I go to the financial service, you don't have any from this, but I can select all of them. Suppose, right? So these are the models that knows the banking system. So most of the banking system is known to this model, but your customer data of the bank would be given to the model to learn from, to talk about the behavior of the customer, whether this customer will enroll for a particular service or not. If you have to predict it, or if you have to customize a particular program for your customer, then you have to get access to the customer data from your bank. And that is not available for this particular model, but this model somehow it is responsible for giving uh, or generating content related to the BFSI, the sector. So you can see the financial report analysis, something like this. So what is that? So you can always go and take a look what you can read it. So if you can use it, if you use it, you can always deploy. So it is not allowed me to deploy at this moment, but yes. So net, just to conclude this session. So we have come to an end of today's session. So net, these are the models. You have to go and figure out which model that you are going to interact with. You can build your own interface, or you can get those interfaces as a ready-made to do this. right? So as an end user, you can stick to creating content from the image and the text point of views. Only you have to understand the context under which you are creating the content. I talk about generating emails or generating news articles, writing blogs, writing stories, you know, writing some kind of educational material for on a particular subject. You can do anything along with writing codes, writing in a different language as long as the NLP is working for you, and so on and so forth. So with that, I will wind up from my end. Thank you everyone for joining this session. So if anybody has to announce anything, so go ahead from our back office. All right. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask. Otherwise, we are good for today. Thank you everyone once again for joining this uh, generative AI session for end user. Thank you.
Guys, before leaving, please make sure you fill the feedback form. The link is given in the chat box. It will be really helpful for us. Thank you.